Hello again, Booktube. My phone turned off. This is still the Booktube Newbie tag, and it turned off right in the perfect moment because we were talking about what challenges will I be facing, and I was just about to say that technical challenges might be the only kind of challenges that I have to face in Booktube. Or the main one, because I mean, like, I'm doing this on my phone. I'm not into editing. I also don't wanna be into editing. I'm fine with talking, but when it comes to doing any actual computer stuff, I want to do the bare minimum. And sometimes I feel like it would be good to edit. I feel like I could develop much more complex arguments if I made a script and basically just talk through a whole argument or made a more complex book review like the ones I try to write sometimes. But I mean, no one is here for serious content that will give you like extreme depth. I think that's more the exception than anything. So I'm just oh wow, I just disappeared from the camera. I'm just gonna ignore that aspect. I'm gonna ignore that there is a possibility. Yeah, right now I'm a shadow walking on the forest, but that's fine, right? You know, I'm still here. Okay, yeah. I'm just gonna ignore that. I'm gonna go for the easiest way to make videos, which is just press record, press stop, and upload. And then I will basically be evading the challenge. Alright, so next question. Where do you read? Where do I read? I think before where, there was when, which I forgot to write down. Yeah, when did you start reading? That's the first, that was first. I started reading young in the sense that like my parents encouraged me to read, but in a way that might not have been the best, because rather than showing me why reading was good, they wanted to sort of like persuade me into reading through money, or you know, like they give me, I'll give you €5 if you read this book, and I'd be like, yeah, sure, and then I'd just pass the pages and get the money. Or at school, I would just be forced to read whatever they tell me, and obviously I wouldn't. I would just I mean, there were some exceptions where I just chose to read a book, but in general, whenever, especially through my childhood and teenage years, whenever anyone told me to do anything, I'd do the opposite, and everyone was telling me to read, so I didn't read until I was probably like 13. When I was 13, I read the books I mentioned in the previous video. Like, I started reading some books because when I was 12 I started writing, and writing brought me into reading. So there was some reading, but I mean, I couldn't read more than 2 books a year until I was, without counting poetry, again. Poetry books are an exception, especially from 15 onwards. I read poetry like almost easily 1 book a day. But any other kind of book, I don't think I read more than 1 a year until I was 18. Yeah, probably 18 or something like that. 1, 2 a year. Yeah, I mean, that's it. In terms of where, that's hard and easy in the sense that like I read everywhere, right? I don't have a problem. It's the same, like I can sleep anywhere. I can sleep in airports, I can sleep here. I could lay down right here and sleep if I didn't have where to. So I read everywhere. I do have my preference, right? I kind of have like, yes, of course I can lay on the couch and make myself a coffee and read in a rainy evening of autumn, whatever. But most of the times I read just wherever I am, in whatever conditions those are, and since I'm always moving, I cannot really create a solid structure. Generally, I tend to read as I wake up. Either I read or write, and every evening before sleeping I read. That's the one moment when I for sure will read. Apart from that, weird places I have read on. It's airplanes, toilets, like public toilets. I don't know. I like cemeteries, churches. I often, when I don't want to be at home because I want to sort of like be on a new environment, but I want to read, but I sort of get bored of the four walls, I go to a church or something. I'm not Christian or religious at all, but yeah, I definitely like the environment of churches, the silence, the feeling that those places give you. I'm trying to think of more. I think probably my favorite place to read is the beach. I like the sun, I like the sound of the sea on the background. I don't mind the excessive light, but I don't like sunglasses, which is always a problem when I'm reading, and also I'm sweating, so generally all the books I take to the beach tend to die on the first read. But yeah, anywhere and everywhere. I read everywhere. I mostly read laying down or walking, but I mean, those are the ways I enjoyed reading, but generally I have to sit down on a table because it's much easier and my reading speed increases a lot when I'm just sitting down. Like if I want to get through a book, I sit down and then I read easily twice as fast as I would read if I were walking or laying down. Yeah, next question. I feel like I've talked way too much about that. Oh. Yeah, finally, what kind of books do you like to read? What kind of books do I like to read? I like to read everything. I mean, if I look at what I have been reading lately, it's definitely, there's been like a thread. You can see that, but probably like, no, you cannot see because I don't make videos about, and I will not make videos about all the books I read, just because some books I feel like I just cannot talk about on a video on an improvised way, especially philosophy books. But I'd say that I read a 40% of classics, a 40% of philosophy books, and then a 20% of anything and everything. I'm trying to, like, there is nothing I'm not interested in on. Like, there are things that interest me more than others, and because I have a limited amount of time to read, not just on the day, but in my life, I sort of like ignore some genres. For example, I haven't read any horror. I don't think I have ever read horror, just because horror is a genre on any art that has never made it for me. But I am going to because I am curious. I've seen Criminoli, for example, and Michael K. Vaughan. They both like a lot horror, and I'd like to definitely check it out. But I don't think it's gonna be one of my genres yet. But again, that doesn't mean that it doesn't interest me. It doesn't mean that I will not read it. As I said, I like reading anything and everything. The 40% of classics and philosophy is just because I'm going through a phase. I'm doing a philosophy undergraduate course, and that implies me reading philosophy a lot. And also because I have not been reading for that long, I feel like reading the classics is what should come first. And also, I mean, they just give you like a kind of it's more likely for a classic to be a good book, so it's a lesser risk. But I don't know, for example, now I'm reading a lot of books on sailing and I enjoy them. Also, I like to talk about what reading is because, for example, I just discovered very recently that I really enjoy reading navigation charts, like just charts. I don't know if that can be considered reading, but I'm just trying to see, like, to push the limits of what is reading. I read not only for enjoyment but also for learning, which means that there are like manuals and books that are not meant to be enjoyed that I enjoy. For example, The Science of Diving is a mandatory book to read for dive masters. It's basically a textbook. I enjoyed reading that so much, you know, because not the reading experience, not in a literary way, but because of what I was learning as I read it. And because of that, because learning is something I just like enjoy pretty much more than anything else, just like realizing of something I didn't know, and expanding my mind in that way. Well, inevitably I'm gonna like reading more than like I'm gonna end up reading things that I would not read if I were only reading for enjoyment, and for that reason I don't think I can tell you like a list of genres. As I said, those are the threads, but it doesn't mean that those are it. Probably at some point I'll stop reading classics and philosophy as much as I do now, and something else will come something else will catch my eye, and I will start reading, I don't know, science books or something. For example, lately I've started reading more history books and pop fiction books, because pop science books, because I've been considering to do a science master's on natural science, but I don't even know in what, so I kind of want to read a pop science book for every scientific discipline, and that is not something I had ever considered before, so I don't think I can narrow it down that much. But yeah, I mean, that's the book tag. I think I have answered every question. Yeah, please let me know how do you like it. I don't know. Yeah, see you.